And just move it up a little. There you go. Slide them in, squeeze them in. All right, good to go over there? All right, good morning. I'm joined here by Chief First City from the Detective Division, members of the Area 4 Detectives and Investigative Response Team. We're here to announce charges in the murder of an unarmed security guard at a business in the 5400 block of West Chicago Avenue on February 23, 2024, and the attempted murder of Chicago police officers in Dalton, Illinois on Saturday. Because of the courageous efforts of the Chicago police officers and detectives, 36-year-old Roderick O'Neal has been charged with 1 felony count of first-degree murder, 1 felony count of murder, 2 felony counts of attempted first-degree murder, 3 felony counts of aggravated battery against a police officer, 6 misdemeanor counts of resisting, obstructing police officer, and 2 issuances of a warrant. I want to extend our deepest condolences to the family of the 43-year-old victim. He was simply at the store doing his job when his life was tragically taken from him. This was truly a department-wide effort to apprehend this suspect, from the Patrol Division to the detectives and to the Bureau of Counterterrorism. They all did what they could to bring justice to this case and the victim's family. They also removed, and remember, this is an extremely important point, they also removed an extremely violent individual from our streets. There's no doubt in my mind, if the Chicago Police Department, the Detective Division, had not acted so swiftly, this individual would have acted out viciously again, and we would have had more victims. The detectives wasted no time in identifying this offender. I also want to thank the Homicide Investigative Support Team and the 50th District officers for their courage. They did surveillance knowing that they were coming in contact with a very, very violent offender. They put their lives, they put themselves at risk to do this surveillance to apprehend this individual. I just want everyone to keep in mind right now, again, I'd really like to highlight the work of these men and women who are standing here to my left, the hard work that they're doing out there to keep the city safe and to hold violent offenders accountable. They work every day to do this, and quite oftentimes they don't get the credit for it, they're not recognized for it, and I want to make sure that they get the recognition for the work that they're doing. We want everyone in the city to know that we're working as hard as we can to keep this city safe and to reduce the number of victims of violent crime in this city. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Chief First City, who is going to provide an overview of the investigation for you. Chief First City.
Good afternoon. Antoinette City Chief, Bureau of Detectives. Immediately after this shooting occurred, our detectives began collecting evidence and witness statements in pursuit of the offender. Of note is the role of our Area 4 Area Technology Center, which at the earliest points of this investigation had a team that is specially trained to identify, retrieve, and preserve video evidence that helped us get an identification of the offender. Following a tip the day after the shooting, detectives were able to identify O'Neal as the suspect and obtain his location. Area 4 Homicide Investigative Support Team members and 15th District tactical officers quickly began surveillance on this location in Dalton, Illinois. Officers observed O'Neal at that location, at which time an exchange of gunfire ensued. No one was struck by gunfire, and with the assistance of CPD helicopter, members of the Bureau of Counterterrorism, and 5th District officers, O'Neal was placed into custody. I know we recognized just how large of a cross-bureau effort this was, but today I especially want to recognize the investigators who are here on the stage who together worked and went through evidence in a very short amount of time in order to present a strong case that resulted in charges being approved. I also want to thank those who quickly came forward with information after the shooting to help us in our investigation. Anytime we are able to announce charges as quickly as we are able to do today, it means that members of the community stepped up and said enough is enough with the violence that is harming the city we live and work in. We hope that this arrest brings a measure of closure to the victim's family. And on behalf of everyone standing here and the entire Chicago Police Department, we pledge to continue working to bring justice to those affected by violence. Thank you.
First of all, I'd also like to recognize the leadership of Deputy Chief Bruno of the Detective Division and Commander Lisa Starks of Area 4. Before I take any questions, or we take any questions, I'd like to acknowledge that today is the first day of testimony in the murder trial of the individual who murdered Chicago police officer Ella French in 2021. The courtroom is packed. I was there this morning, met with Mrs. French, who was, despite the conditions, was in great spirits. This is not something that I know she's looking forward to, but something that we need to get behind us. There was a lot of support there for Ms. French. The Yanez family was there, Carlos Yanez, who was seriously injured, working as a partner with Ella French on that night. And also Detective Joshua Blas, who was also Ella's partner that night. We will never forget their bravery. We will always carry Ella's legacy with us and her legacy of service. She was exactly what we expected a Chicago police officer to be. It was a tragedy, but we're looking for justice now. So with that, we'll take any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Hi, Caitlin Washburn, sometimes. So do you have details on what led up to the shooting in Austin? And so just to be clear, the shooting Saturday, the officer involved shooting on Saturday in Dalton is what's connected to this case with apprehending O'Neill?
That's correct. Would you care to provide some details, Chief?
Sure, and to confirm what the superintendent just said, yes, the incident on Saturday evening in Dalton was a result of the investigation at the earliest points directing our personnel out there to where they knew him to be located. The incident seems to be related. Our offender was previously an employee at that same business where our victim worked, and it appears that they may have had some sort of an argument sometime prior. And so we believe that may be what was behind the shooting that took place.
An argument between the security guard or just with someone at the business? Or?
With the security guard, who also worked as security at the same business where our offender previously was employed.
And then, it was reported on Saturday that an officer was placed on desk duty following just the protocol, but was it one officer who was put on desk duty or several?
We'll have News Affairs get back to you with any of those details.
And then, or just real quick, are there any updates on the 3 other mass shootings that have happened this week? And you want to just try to chat them, and then last night's in Greater Grand Crossing?
You know, I think the only thing I'm going to say about that, and just kind of referencing just a week ago we were up here, I think everyone can sense that these investigations are off to a very strong start. We believe that they are moving in the right direction, and our detectives in each of those areas are going to continue to investigate those cases just with as much diligence as you see why we're here today.
Karen Gordon, ABC7. Does the offender in this case have any priors?
Yes, this offender does have a criminal background. One of the things we'll highlight is you'll see that he was also charged for the issuance of a warrant, and during the course of this investigation, what we learned is that he also had an attempt first-degree murder warrant out of Forest Park. So as the superintendent previously said, and I really want to emphasize, what we're recognizing today is across the Bureau a number of Chicago Police Department members who took a very violent criminal off of our streets.
You said he was identified that day as the suspect, or the following day?
Well, that day, our detectives responded immediately, and part of that initial response oftentimes looks like trying to collect video, where we were able to get a visual. But then again, as we mentioned, we did get information, a tip that helped us further confirm and do our investigation.
Hi, this is Charlie with CBS. I was actually going to ask about his history because you said he's very vicious.
He is a violent criminal with a violent background, and so I think more is likely going to come out, especially this is going to be in court this morning, but we can confirm that in the course of our investigation, we learned that a warrant had been issued for him out of Forest Park for an attempt murder.
And then maybe a question for the superintendent. Cole released a statement today in regards to an incident that happened on January 25th. I believe that was in the 8500 block of South Winchester. Can you address that? If the officers did the right thing, responding to a shot spotter call, it turned out that there were actually fireworks that went off. Did they do the right thing? And if they didn't do the right thing, will they be disciplined?
Well, here, I won't comment on whether they did the right thing or not. The officers responded. That's under investigation at this time. And just keep in mind, when officers respond to situations, we have to get the full story before we determine if they did the right thing or did not do the right thing. However, in these investigations, if we find that an officer made a mistake or an officer did something that was outside the scope of what the officer is supposed to do, then we'll properly investigate that and we'll take corrective measures on it. But right now, until this investigation is completed, we can't say one way or the other if the officer did the right thing or not.
Hi, Alyssa Donovan, WGN. Sort of off of some of their questions, how long had this guy been on your radar?
Well, one of the things I'll acknowledge is we're here announcing charges for the homicide and the attempt murder of our officers, but he was known in that area, and so 15th District, under the leadership of Commander Morse, was responsive to calls that had been coming in a short time before this, and put together a plan to have additional officers in that area. So calls had been coming in to the 15th District that morning, and it led to an increase of officers over at that location.
Okay. I mean, would you say calls have been coming in about him for weeks, months, years?
I'm only able to speak right now to the day of the investigation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
A big part of the new FOP contract was the creation of the homicide team. So I'm curious, were the homicide teams at all involved in this case? How have they been utilized so far since the start of the year? And overall, what's the department's clearance rate for the first 2 months of the year?
Sure. So I will say that all of our detectives who are assigned to this out of Area 4 are on the homicide teams. Many of them already came over as experienced detectives, and then we were able to increase the number of personnel that we had. And really, when you're asking this, it's just to say the major change was really in the structure of how we're able to assign these cases to them. And as we've been saying, as we promote what these teams are, we believe that this is allowing them the time they need at the earliest part of the investigation when it's so important to get the information that they need. And then again, I think it also is contributing to the quick results that we're seeing with these charges. As of today, we have a 79.6% clearance rate overall, and we're seeing that that's an increase from last year in both the actual number of incidents cleared as much as the clearance rate.
Is that homicide or homicide and non-fatals?
This is a homicide clearance rate I gave you.
This very well makes sense. I guess I would love to hear both of your address and maybe start with issues now first, kind of selling if you would. You mentioned in relation to this case that
Well, that would be some type of predictive analysis on my part. Here's what I'll tell you. We have it now. We're going to use it to the best of our ability now, and we've done so throughout the time that we've had it. What I will tell you is this. Whatever happens, the Chicago Police Department is going to continue to work to keep the city safe. The work that these individuals have done is not based on one simple aspect of technology. It has to do with the men and women who are putting in the work and the boots on the ground. Obviously, I'm for technology that's going to help us get to a location quicker and help us save lives. I've said that before, and I'll say it a million times over. I don't back away from that statement that I made. However, there are some things that are outside the control of the Chicago Police Department when it comes to those things. But as I told you before, there are great men and women in this department who work really hard, and they're going to continue to do the same.
Do you have any hopes or thoughts that with ShotSpotter Committee to provide some different metrics and data on what their technology does, that perhaps there might be a possibility of keeping the technology if there's better proof, I guess, that it's helping solve cases or whatnot?
Again, that's outside the scope of what I do here. When it comes to the contractual part of it and that aspect of ShotSpotter, that lies with the mayor's office. I don't deal with that aspect of it. What I'm concerned about right now is public safety. And I'm going to do everything I can to keep the city safe. I'm not going to dabble in politics. That's not where I lie. Right here, what I'm focused on doing is making sure that these people who are standing here to my left are safe, they're capable, they're well prepared to go out there and keep the city safe and protect lives.
Can I just clarify one thing? Did the mayor notify you in advance of his decision, or did you find out through the media?
Here's how I'm going to answer that question to you. The mayor and I have had a conversation about this. There was communication. The communication could have been better on both parts. Since then, we have spoken. We're very clear about communication right now. I'm feeling very positive right now about how we're going to communicate moving forward. So what I want to do is dabble in distractions. I don't want to get into that. I want to make sure that the relationship between myself, the mayor, is a working relationship that's going to help us go out and keep the public safe. I believe that that's where we are right now. I believe after having a clear conversation with the mayor that we're on the same page and we're moving forward.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for coming.
Could you spell your name, please?
You, like Union, R like Robert, S like Sam, I like Ida, T like Tom, T like Tom, I like Ida. Do you need my first name?
Yes.
A, it's really long, I'm just going to spell it. If you need a letter, let me know. ANTOINETTE. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.